Hey, what's going on, you guys, ladies and gentlemen? Now, this is going to be a nice little story time type of podcast. Now, this is going to be about the time I've smoked weed in a church. Now, it's kind of an interesting story. This happened about in summer of 2017, so I would say this happened almost 4 years ago. Time goes by pretty fast, but you know, it was a random day. It was like towards the end. It was like around the middle of August this happened. So, you know, I used to work at this church, like not like not as an official like pastor or some shit. No, it's something different. It used to be a summer camp at this church. I don't remember the name of it, so I'm not really gonna put out any names here, but I don't really remember the name of it. But um it was this very small summer camp. Like I say small because it was only like 30 kids, maximum. But I'm like, yo, this camp is very small. Like not the building, but like it's just mostly because there's only like 30 kids, so all they needed was like 7, 8 staffs at the very most. So, whatchamacallit, I used to work there as like a janitor, like where I would just clean the church and all that shit. So at the beginning, I wasn't really the type of person to smoke before work or anything like that before one of these scenarios happened. But, because I would always come in, I would have a couple homies and a couple home girls. We would talk about weed and stuff like that, and they didn't really care if I come in high and all that shit, most of the time. But, whatchamacallit, it was just random. Let's just go straight into the story on the first time I actually did it. So, it's a random day, I get into work with, and I took the bus. I took a couple of buses all the way over there, and I'm on my way, and I remember I'm just like, you know what? And I remember walking to work because I was like 20 minutes early or some shit. I can't remember how early I was, but I was like 20 or 15 minutes early. And I'm like, well, let me just take a couple bowl because I just happened to have a pipe on me, and I was just saving this to like, smoke in a park after work or some shit. But I'm like, you know what? Let me just take a couple bowl rips before work. What happened? Because the reason why I did it, because this was a period of time where I would always fiend to smoke, like I was almost chronically addicted to weed, at this time, because I was a beginner smoker at this time. This was right when I was getting into it, and I was just always fiending, so, I was like, all right, let me take a couple bowl rips. And I took a couple bowl rips, like, while I was walking and shit. It's not, you have to take out your weed a little bit. And you got to, like, grind a tiny bit of it on your bowl. And then, take the hit, a couple of hits. And then, boom, your bakes. Like, that was the beginning days, man. Nowadays, I need, like, a ridiculous amount of bowl rips to even get where I want to be. Like, a ridiculous amount of bowl rips nowadays. Honestly, nowadays, the only two substances that get me equal really, really sent or really high is liquor, not beer, because beer does not get me drunk. I mean, sorry, this is a little side rant. But the only two substances that gets me really, really high is liquor and edibles, because I took an edible the other day, and I was like, whoa, I missed this high, you know what I mean? Like, I was, like, I missed this high, you know what I mean? But yeah, let's get back to the story. But yeah, after I took a couple bowls, I immediately go in, like I just try to pack up and not smell like weed and stuff like that. I can't remember if I had a cologne on me this day or not, but I just walked in there, and whatchamacallit, nobody really notices too much, other than a couple of like homegirls and stuff like that were there. I mean, I don't talk to any of these people today, obviously, but whatchamacallit, they didn't care at first, and then, later on, oh yeah. After a while, they didn't notice, and then whatchamacallit, they went on a little road trip, not a road trip. They went on a field trip. I can't remember where they went this day. I think they either went to the zoo or the amusement park, some shit like that. And I'm like, oh, I think that's what drove me to do this, because they went on a road trip and they didn't take me, and I was just very tight about it. So, whatchamacallit, they go on this road trip, not road. Why the fuck I keep saying road trip? This field trip. They went on this field trip, and And they were like, you know what? We're gonna leave you behind. Like at this time, they used to have two people left behind. It was just me and the other homie, but the other homie quit. But by the time this happened, this time I'm by myself. So I'm like, okay, let me take advantage of this. I was like, I was saying this in my head. I didn't say it out loud. So, they're getting ready to leave. I'm trying to hatch down a plan. I'm like, you know what? Either I'm gonna go smoke in the bathroom, or I'm gonna smoke night and day near up. I mean, I should have smoked outside. You know what I mean? Because then the smell wouldn't linger around. It'll just be on my hands. All I had to do is just wash my hands. But I wasn't thinking like that at the time. Because in the bathroom, the window was wide open. So I'm thinking, all right, I'll just keep the bowl and then just completely keep all the smoke out the window. That way, hopefully nobody smells it. So, by the time they leave, I start to clean around the church, a little bit. I do my rounds, a little bit of last rounds of cleaning, and then of wiping down, mopping, and doing all the extra shit. Like I used to do so much at this church, but whatchamacallit, by the time I get done, I'm like, all right, it's go time, because I could have done it right away, but I wanted to keep clean around that way in case I get a little too high, I wouldn't be too lazy, but I was like, all right, but it's go time. I quickly go to the bathroom. I quickly go to the room where I left my stuff, and I grab my bowl and my little bit of weed that I had on me. And I went to the bathroom, and whatchamacallit, I pack up a couple of bowls. I can't remember the amount of bowls I took exactly, but it wasn't really much. It was like one or two hits, And whatchamacallit, I'm like, all right, bet I'm good. I don't need to smoke too much. Otherwise, because I remember when I was up to my second or third hit, I saw one of the ladies that, worked there, but she didn't know me like that. But I still was paranoid, because, she saw my face plenty of times. So I'm like, oh shit, let me hurry up and hide this shit. Hopefully she doesn't smell it at all and shit like that. And, I ran to the room and I throw it in my throw it in my bag. I threw the rest of the stuff in my bag. Nothing else happened, and for the rest of the day, right? So I'm thinking I got away with it, especially when they got back. They're like, hey, how you doing? How was it? Is it safe? Is it clean and all that stuff? And I'm like, yeah. Whatchamacallit, they got back, and then the next day comes around. I come in there. I didn't smoke before this time, because I'm like, you know what, let me take a break from it. Hopefully nothing happened, and I get in, I clock in. Nothing seems to be sus or anything. And I get to the table where we're, eating breakfast, talking to each other one-on-one. And I mean, not one-on-one. It was like me and a couple of groups of friends and the campers and the rest of the room just chatting it up. It's a regular morning. And the supervisor comes in and calls my name. And I'm like, okay, this is not good. I'm already thinking in my head that this is not good. Like, all right, this probably is not going to go out really well. So he calls me into his office, and whatchamacallit, I can't remember the exact first words he said. He was like, hey, Kyle, why I called you in here. Well, I can't remember the exact first words he said. This was a long time ago. But I was like, nah, what did I do? And he was like, did you smoke marijuana in my church? And I'm like, I remember he said that. That was the only phrase I remember him saying. He's like, did you smoke marijuana in my church? And I just said, no. I lied and said no. I could have just confessed and said, yeah, I'm sorry, but I try to keep it all out the window. But at the time, I was just very paranoid. And I was like, let me just see if I just deny and see what he says. I said no. And the next thing he said was, sign out. We'll call you as soon as we can. And I was like, oh, fuck. And I was like, what did I do? I just got up and left, I didn't really care, because I'm like, all right, fuck, I'm like, whatever, I'm not going to fight for this shitty job anyways. So, I got up and left. I signed out, and, my parents eventually found out, but, that's the story time for you guys today. I don't really miss that job or any of those shitty people. Shit, I'm on my own grind and I'm making money and I'm about to make more money in the next couple of months. So, fuck them. So I'm sorry. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the story time, and I'll talk to you guys within the next podcast. Peace out.